Hello, good people. Watch the game sports. I'm your man, LA Cheatham. Please check us out on Facebook. But we would really appreciate if you would subscribe to the channel on YouTube and share the video because we are 15, I think 15 Sundays away from NFL football.
What up, good people? It's Benjamin Banneker, and I do not have a countdown of how many Sundays we got, but Indy 500 was yesterday, and it came and went after a 4-hour rain delay, but I was there for it.
Man, Penn, it's been a week since we met and talked about these NBA conference finals. They've been sort of disappointing. I know we have our picks,
Yeah,
but once the ball tips off, things happen.
yeah,
And up to this point, it's looking like we got two sweeps on our hands. Boston should be up 2-1, and you can say the same thing for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
yeah, man. That Boston game, I think that Boston game was what, Saturday night? Yes, Saturday night, and even with Halliburton going down, um, the Pacers came out, played expired basketball. They was up 18 late in the third quarter, and they could not find a way to get that thing home. I think they ended up losing by what? Was it one or two? They
Three
ended up
points. The final score of the game three was 114, 111. Nimhard come off with 32 points in that game. It probably was wondering with Halliburton being out, who was going to step up, and he absolutely done it. Pascal Siakam has showed to be steady in the conference finals. But when you think about the Pacers blew game one, and I felt that if the Pacers won game one, they would be out in five. No,
no,
they'd
you
be.
said
I picked
six.
them to be out in six.
Yeah,
If they lost game one, I thought they'd be out in five. So
yeah.
they lose game one. I mean, I think game two was pretty much a blowout again. I think that's the game. Jalen Brown went off on about 40. Jason Tatum's been doing his thing. He's had two really good games, two 36-point outputs, game one and game three. But the Pacers should have won game one, and they should have won game three.
And the fact that they didn't win game three because they had was it Nimhard? He went off for I
Yes.
think 30 plus. Again, you didn't have your lead guy Halliburton with the hamstring injury. Um, Inspired basketball, and what's the name of their place now? It ain't Conseco Fieldhouse no more, but whatever it is.
Uh
Uh,
I don't want to mess it up. Um
it's
I want to say it's
Banker's Life,
Gamebridge.
Gamebridge, yeah.
Gamebridge, something like that. It's a shame it's only right down I-65 in my neck of the woods, about an hour and a half trip away. But I'm stuck up. We stuck up here in the northwest part of Indiana. I'm really not a huge Indiana Pacer fan. I mean, but I am. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm disappointed because when you see good basketball, and I hate to see teams blow leads. So
But I have
disappointed in.
I think we got to get over that, especially in this day and age of NBA basketball. Like, if you see a team down 20, the game ain't over. Because I remember I didn't start that. I didn't catch the beginning of that game. I caught on to it like beginning of third quarter. And my first initial reaction was, here go Boston playing down to the competition again, letting another one get away, letting these guys hang around. They ain't even got Halliburton tonight. And then I had to catch myself mid thought. I'm like, they only down 18. That's only like five threes, and they right back in the game. And sure
Yeah.
enough, by the time it was over with, they was on top and come out with the victory. So it's unfortunate that we looking at two sweeps. Um, and then it's also unfortunate that the NBA mandates this NBA Finals start date of I think it's what June 6th. So now we're gonna have
Yep.
pretty much a week without basketball. which I think is just
if
completely
if things if
idiotic.
things
Yeah,
continue to go as they are, you all right. We're gonna have to focus on Major League Baseball, WNBA, and the UFL uh football season coming to an end, getting ready for the playoffs.
I
But
just don't understand that thinking. Yeah, that's just bad. Like if your product is moving and you got all this interest, we moving out of the era of LeBron and the older stars, and we going into the newer stars. Why not keep the product in front of people? But now you're gonna take a week off and allow people to, oh, let me see what the Cubs doing. Let me see, like, just focus on some other things. And then if you, it's not gonna be, I guess, the quote unquote sexiest finals matchup because I'm sure nobody picked this. Like, why not keep your product rolling? Again, another problem I got with Adam Silver, but that's another show.
yeah, well, Penn, actually, I don't have a problem. I picked Minnesota to win the series in six, I think it was, against the Mavericks.
You did, because I went Mavericks
But
in seven.
but when a team steps up and play defense the way the Mavericks have done so, I can't be against them winning this series if they're going to continue to take this to the next level and go to the finals. Um, Boston, you said it. They probably up to this point have had the easiest road up to this point because the Knicks, no, not the Knicks, but they keep running into these teams undermanned.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Miami, no Jimmy Butler.
Still dropped the
Um,
game.
I think that then they beat who did they beat in the second round?
Second round they played Cleveland Cavaliers and they
Okay,
dropped the game.
but the thing is, they dropped the game in that series, but they still got off the hook because they were missing their key player,
Mm-hmm.
and now after escaping game one and game winning game two, going up 2-0, then Halliburton's down. So this is probably, like you said, it's the probably the easiest road to the finals in recent history, as far as I'm concerned. But we all expected the Celtics would be here. We didn't know it would be this easy. I mean, I don't know if New York was a legitimate two seed. I think Milwaukee was, well, like I say, Milwaukee missing Giannis.
Giannis and
So
Dame.
everything worked out. Yeah, Dame, everything worked out for the Celtics up to this point. We're not going to be all night because we're going to probably be as quick as these series. Boston up 3-0. We moments away from tip off in Indianapolis. I got to go with Boston. And I know I picked them in five, but with a Halliburton being down and with the Pacers dropping two games they should have won, the momentum's got to be down for the Pacers. But who knows? But I'm gonna go ahead and pick Boston to
Yeah, that's
to
to
win this
close
series
out.
in this week. Yep.
Yeah, that's what it's, the smart money has. The only thing we watching for tonight is to see if Boston plays down. If Boston just come out there and they show up thinking, hey, we up 3-0, we just gonna throw our green Celtics jerseys on, whatever color they'll wear tonight. Again, Adam Silver, that's another shot at you. Whatever jerseys they got on tonight is not inconceivable that the Celtics will just roll the balls out there, roll the jersey out there, and say, all right, y'all gonna lay down and go home.
I can see the Pacers getting off to a fast start. I can see the Celtics playing down to the competition again, but the Pacers have shown that they could play with the Celtics
Yep.
up to this point. They
Yeah.
just have not finished the job. And you talking about uniforms? I'm kind of getting tired of the Mavericks wearing those dark uniforms. I'm
Which
tired of
one?
getting tired
The
of
the black ones or
I'm
the blue
tired of the
ones?
Pacers wearing the gold uniforms also.
Let me tell you about the Pacers. The Pacers, the one that's gold uniform. I think pretty much every game of the playoffs. I don't
Mm.
even remember what they normal regular uniforms look like. I really don't.
Yeah,
I really
and I
don't.
and I think I believe The Timberwolves been winning white every game, no matter if it's on the road or home. I mean, and that's a whole nother story when we talk about the Timberwolves. When they go out and they beat the defending champions in impressive fashion in 7 games. And now we get to see the deficiencies of the team. They look so much they look well balanced as a basketball team at every position. But now I think what's coming down to is the Mavericks have two guys that can finish and two guys that can play make, and lo and behold, they are playing solid defense because Minnesota has horrible player movement and the matchups are incorrect. Not to mention that Carl Anthony Towns is taking a bunch of bad threes.
Four
Think
out of
he's shooting
32.
12 or 13% from 3 point land in the series.
4 out of 32. Yep.
So, he's playing. Carl Anthony Towns is playing the Western Conference Finals like it's a Tuesday night in February. You know, and that's not gonna get it done. When you talk about Anthony Edwards, he's put up numbers, but he had one game we had 16, one game we had 21. I think he had 24 in game three. But even the Minnesota Timberwolves should probably be up 2-1 because they blew a big lead in game two at home. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that Dallas played a pretty solid game one. Kyrie Irving, this whole show could be about Kyrie Irving, but I'm gonna save it for later because I think Kyrie's playing on a high level, and I'm gonna pick Dallas to go ahead and go to the finals. But Kyrie Irving's story up to this point is very interesting because I think Kyrie Irving he's getting snubbed from Team USA.
Ooh,
He's
okay.
playing at that level.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it wasn't a question about Kyrie's game. We already know that Kyrie is one of the most skilled basketball players that we've seen at that size in NBA history. He's a top 75 NBA player. Um, and I have an affinity for players that can score at multiple levels, 3 levels. He can handle the rock, he can shoot the three, hit the two, step back, whatever you want to do. He can hit you with a post up, and he can finish at the rim. I like players that can do that. I don't like the three balls, just settling for a lot of threes. And when you do that, you let the defense off the hook. You don't apply the necessary pressure that you need to, and you bail them out a lot of times. And what you seeing with Kyrie and Luka being able to, I'm gonna get to my spot, and there's nothing you can do about it, and I'm gonna get my shot. And most of the time, it's gonna be a good shot every time. Like it's just put the defense in so much trouble. And the fact that Rudy Gobert is kind of being neutralized because he can't really come up and press because they throwing them lobs on him if he does that. And if he don't do that, then okay, well, if you're gonna leave your man out here one-on-one versus me, I'm gonna win that 7 out of 10 times. So it's just is I hate to say it, it's a bad matchup for the Wolverines, for the T Wolves, but at the same time, they haven't made the necessary adjustments that they need
You're right.
to
You're
make
right.
this a competitive series. If it was me, I would take Rudy off the floor and play Nas Reed more. I mean,
But here's the thing: when Rudy is off the floor, this is when Carl Anthony Towns should go to
to the
the
block.
bucket.
Yep.
Go down to the and it's a shame we don't do these shows like before each and every game or after each and every game. But time permitted, we don't have it right now. But when you watch the post game shows and you watch the all the morning shows, whatever it is you watch, first take, undisputed, everyone's saying the same thing. Carl Anthony Towns has to quit taking so many threes, go down to the block. I think he went 4 for 5 from the free throw line. Okay, he went 0 for 8 from the 3 point line. So there's two things going on. Either he doesn't want to go down there, or he's not being told to go down there, which leads me to believe that there's issue with coaching or mental toughness because this is the Western Conference Finals. You
And
know,
I
like I
I
said,
would add I would add to that he can't go down there. I don't think he knows how to play down
he probably doesn't. But for some reason, and he's not getting the calls now due to the fact he doesn't go down there often. He's going down there sort of out of control, and he doesn't play down there enough to get the officials to give him the benefit of the doubt. Carl Anthony Towns, 7 foot, 248 pounds. He's bigger than anyone else on the Dallas Mavericks team. I think the closest guy to him
there. Gafford.
is Galford, Daniel Galford. And speaking of Daniel Galford, this team, the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Dallas Mavericks, I think they matched up 4 times this season. I want to say the Timberwolves beat them 3 games to 1 in the regular season. But their last matchup prior to this series was on, I believe, January 31st. That was before the trade deadline, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not facing the same team. PJ
Washington.
PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford being added to this team has been phenomenal. It's improved them defensively. It's improved them in the pick and roll game with playmakers like Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. And the Dallas Mavericks just don't match up with them. You can say Nas Reed, like you said, probably start Nas Reed, but that's a lack of coaching because now it's probably too late.
Yeah, yeah,
Now it's probably too late.
yeah. And you said lack of coaching. You you brought this up in our text message. You said why is Chris Finch?
Chris
Why
Finch, that's the coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Yes, yeah,
why is he at the podium at the end of the game, after the game, when he's not up and down, running the sidelines during the game? He's not even running the timeout huddles.
yeah. Because coach, his one of his assistants, Micah Nori,
Yeah,
he's the one walking up and down walking up the down the sideline. When you're walking up the down the sideline, you are ejected into the game, and you are a part of the game. You feel the momentum of the game. So how much how much energy is Chris Finch putting off to this team in adjustments when you talk about just feeling the energy and the pulse of the game? You know what I'm saying? And then he's been criticized for not making adjustments. I'm going to hold Micah Nori just as much responsible. And when you talk about the coaching matchups, I just thought about it last night. I'm like, as the game was ending, I'm like, when you're thinking about it, you got Jason Kidd on the other sideline, probably one of the one of the best point guards to play in the last 20 years, at least in the last 15 to 20 years. Won a championship with the Dallas Mavericks and Dirk Nowitzki. So he knows what it means to be there on the floor. And when you add him and Kyrie, two playmaking type of point guards, because Kyrie's done a phenomenal job of playmaking when he needs to make plays. And then after he gets other guys involved, right around the third quarter is when he started looking for his shot. Now in game 1, he got it going from the opening tip.
early. Yeah,
But games 2 and 3, he allowed other guys to get off, and he allowed Luca to kind of do his thing. But come third and fourth quarter, it was pretty much him and Luca, and whenever they could find a high percentage look for someone else, they made the play. But Kyrie Irving, Jason Kidd, that's a tandem when you talk about the brain trust on and off the basketball court for the Dallas Mavericks.
yeah. And is this the first time in his career that he's had a head coach where he actually respected him? I don't know how he felt about Ty Lue. He was still a young Kyrie then, but Brad Stevenson in Boston. I'm sure he thought he knew more basketball than him because Brad didn't play. And then bringing Steve Nash in, you remember his quote about that? We don't need no coach. I'm a coach. KD's a coach.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and this, I think this is the first time he actually looked at the head coach like this guy can help me win. This guy can help my game. He can advance my career. And he's older now. He ain't the same 25-year-old kid. He's what
32.
32 now. He
Mm-hmm.
got kids of his own. He done been through all that stuff that he went through in Brooklyn, and he probably just like, you know what? I just want to hoop. And
Focusing on basketball. Yep.
yeah, and
Focusing on
you
basketball.
got yep.
And to bring up the Jason Kidd, the respect for another great NBA point guard is Jason. I believe Jason Kidd is a Hall of Famer, right?
And top 75 NBA player.
And I believe when Jason Kidd was inducted into the Hall of Fame, Kyrie Irving made it his business to be there when he got inducted. So somewhere down the line, he had a certain amount of respect for Jason Kidd anyway. At some point, if he took it out, made it a point to be there when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. So I think that was something they mentioned during the broadcast. So you hitting it on the head. When you think about it though, when I think about doing this, when all the problems that was had in Brooklyn, when you had Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant, and when Durant was traded to Phoenix, you felt like that should be a pretty solid move.
Mm-hmm.
When Harden was traded to Philly, I think he was traded to Philly, right?
Yeah, for Ben Simmons.
For Ben Simmons. And he played well with the Sixers, but that didn't work out. Now he's a Clipper. But the one trade that I had question marks about was the Dallas trade when they sent Kyrie to Dallas. I'm like, Luka dominates the ball. Kyrie needs the ball. How is that going to work? And then you remember Dallas kind of depleted their bench in the process of bringing in Kyrie, and it didn't really work out towards the latter stages of last season. But once again, you got to look back on this previous trade deadline with Gafford and PJ Washington being brought over, and then the rookie Lively that went out in game 3, having some major contributions up to this point. So I really had doubts about that trade. If you were to ask me then who would I thought would be more successful up to this point, it would have been the Phoenix Suns, but it's
Yeah.
clearly been the Dallas Mavericks. Kyrie Irving focusing on the game, focusing on basketball, personally showing me what I thought he could be anyway, but with all of the all of the criticism and setbacks and all the opinions and stuff like that, it just took his focus away from basketball. Now it looks like he's focused back on basketball, playing at a championship level. And I think if it wasn't for all those other things, he would probably be on Team USA this summer.
Oh
In the
yeah, for sure,
Yeah,
for sure.
so
And it's funny. It's funny that we thought when that trade, because Kyrie got dealt before KD, and then KD
mhm,
I think got traded a few days later. When KD went to
mhm.
Phoenix, it's funny that now that we away from it, we looking at the Phoenix organization as a whole. Like they trying to buy a championship. They didn't had 3 coaches in 3 years. Like that organization is kind of in disarray. But when you look at the Mavericks, Mark Cuban been there for at least 20 years running the show. I know he just sold his majority stakes this year, but he's still a part of the organization to run it. Jason Kidd's been there for, I think this is his third or fourth year being in Dallas. Jason Kidd had other stops where he had NBA head coaching experience. Remember, Jason Kidd started in Brooklyn when he was coaching KG and Paul Pierce. That didn't go well. And then I think Jason Kidd was the coach in Milwaukee. Uh, I think he had a young, correct me if I'm wrong, what's my man's name from Chicago? Jabari Parker. That was Jason Kidd was coaching him. And he had to go through those growing pains. And now you look at it when we come down to coaching, Oh, Jason Kidd's a solid NBA coach.
Yeah,
On top of
yeah,
his playing resume, so Jason Kidd had time to put it all together and to learn. And I think we seeing a lot of that with Minnesota, which we kind of I know I kind of got caught up in them beating Denver. Like maybe they can
yeah.
skip a step,
So did
But
I.
we know young teams do not typically just get in the playoffs and then go to the championship and win it. It's steps to it, it's levels to it. I think we kind of lost sight of that. But again, Jason Kidd had to go through these steps. Luka had to go through these steps. This is his second conference finals in the last 3 years, but Luka's had some early playoff exits and everything. So it's a learning process. And I think we really see him more so of Dallas being ready for this moment, Minnesota not being ready for this moment, and Kyrie coming into his own. We already knew the basketball talent was there, but once the maturity caught up with the basketball talent, now he's just lights out.
Yeah, like you said, him, Kyrie Irving, and Luka Doncic. As I stated earlier, two guys that can finish and they can get other guys involved, and I think that's what's happening now. You have two playmakers. You know what I'm saying? That's creating for others on the court, and they have stepped it up on the defensive end. The lack of player movement, I'm not going to say so much ball movement because Minnesota does move the ball, but it does have a tendency to stick when Anthony Edwards gets it, and there's nothing really set up for him to get open. He's either playing downhill and he's meeting three guys at the basket, or he's hitting the mid range or a 3 point shot. You know what I'm saying? When he's not getting the call around the bucket.
Yeah,
Then you have every time Carl Anthony Towns come up the floor, he stops at the 3 point line, be it up top, be it on the side, be it in the corner. He doesn't go down and put pressure on the defense. So I'm going to blame lack of coaching, lack of experience coming up with the players. So it's just a learning experience for the Timberwolves up to this point. As most people probably thought that, like you said, they were a step ahead of the process, but now we see where the learning curve comes in at. And I would like to think that it's part Chris Finch being in the second row,
yeah.
coaching the basketball team, Michael Nori not really having, I don't know if he has the authority to make the adjustments. So maybe there's some confusion on the sideline. So now going into this now, game four, like I say, I picked the Celtics. Game four in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm going to have to pick the Dallas Mavericks now. I mean, I can't go against my original pick. I'm just going with my gut feeling now because I'm
Yeah.
watching the game and I see the lack of adjustments, and this one might be over. Now, like I said, I would love to see Minnesota push this to game six and make me look right. You know what I'm saying? Because everyone wants to be right. But when I watch the games, I'm not seeing any adjustments. I'm seeing poor shot selection. Now, they have times where they can still be sticky on the defensive end, but they're just not getting enough looks, good looks. And the one kid, I mispronounced his name, Jaden McDaniels.
Yeah.
He showed up in game one. I think he showed up in game two. Not so good in game three. But it's just not enough movement in the offense for the Timberwolves. And Carl Anthony Towns has to be better. I mean, like I say,
Their
Ant
learning
Man's gonna
experience.
need some help. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
he said he was getting up 15. What did he say? 1,500 shots a day.
he definitely said 1,500. He said 1,500
Charles
shots.
Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Draymond
Dre,
Green,
yeah.
even Ernie
Yeah.
thought that he was capping.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now, when
Yeah.
Ernie think you capping, 1,500
Yeah.
shots a day, okay. And if you're shooting 1,500 threes a day, you need to stop.
That's what Barkley was saying. That's what
He
Barkley
need to
said.
go down on the block and work on the mic and drill.
And here's my thing. He said he's getting up 1,500 shots a day. Yeah, maybe in the off season, maybe on an off
Yeah.
day, It's no
Maybe
way
on
you
a
shoot.
Tuesday night in February.
Yeah, it's no way you in the playoffs with one day in between games and you getting up 1,500 shots a day. It's
No,
not happening because at
I
this
don't
point
believe it either.
they prioritizing getting you off your feet and resting and being ready to play for the next game. They probably not even practicing much. It's just a lot of
Yeah.
video work and shoot around stuff for maybe an hour and then go rest. So there's no way he's getting up 1,500 shots.
All right. Look, it's been real. We're going to
Yeah,
get ready to watch the game, and I hope you are too. Thanks for joining us. Please subscribe to us on YouTube because we need you. But come football season, we want you guys to participate. And we're figuring all that out. But thanks for watching the game. Boston tonight, wrapping it up in game 4. That's my gut. Minnesota, wrapping it up. I mean, not Minnesota.
Dallas,
Dallas wrapping
Dallas.
it up in game 4. Those are just guts. Those are
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
if there's any team that I think can come back and win a couple games, it is Minnesota. But it just ain't looking that way right now. They
yeah. I
healthy
got
enough to do it. Can they make the
yeah.
adjustments?
It's Boston. It's Boston tonight, Dallas tomorrow, and then we're gonna wait all the way to Thursday, June 6th for NBA Finals Game 1. Wow.
Yeah. So the next time we meet, this might be an NBA Finals preview.
Yeah.
Watch the game. 15 Sundays till NFL football. We out.
We out.